Hello and welcome to this preview of the Banker's Top 1000 World Banks ranking for 2012. The Banker magazine has been doing bank rankings for more than 40 years. And every year we collect more data than ever before and as a result gain ever deeper insights into major banking trends. This year, as you might expect, one of the major trends is the devastating impact of the Eurozone crisis on European bank results. At the same time, Chinese banks are continuing their march up the table and making sizable profits that most Western banks can only dream about. US banks are more or less holding their own and have recovered fairly well from the crisis, but the UK's banking sector is rather diminished from its strong position that it held pre-crisis. The Banker's Top 1000 ranking is based on Tier 1 capital, which we consider as the best measure of a bank's strength. Asset size does not give such a good guide, as no one can be sure of the quality of the assets, and profits, while interesting, as we all know, can be short-lived. Ranked by Tier 1 capital, the top 10 strongest global banks are, as you will see from the chart, in first place Bank of America and in second place JP Morgan, the same positions these two banks held in 2011's ranking. But in third place is a real surprise. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, has moved up from 6th place with a 23% increase in capital, giving it the highest rank ever for a Chinese bank in the top 1,000. All of the big four Chinese banks are now in the top 10, with Agricultural Bank of China entering for the first time at number 10. Making way for Agricultural Bank of China is Britain's Royal Bank of Scotland, which has fallen out of the top 10, leaving HSBC as the only British bank now left in the upper part of the table. Notice that no bank from a Eurozone country appears in the top 10. The Eurozone crisis has redrawn the banking map. 5 years ago, European banks accounted for nearly 2/3 of global banking assets and not far short of half the profits. In the current ranking, European bank assets still account for 45% of the total, but their profits are a meagre 6.3%. In the 2011 ranking, European banks still accounted for nearly 25% of the profits, so their position has deteriorated rapidly over just the last 12 months. But Europe's loss is China's gain. 5 years ago, Chinese banks only had a 6% share of world assets and under 5% of world profits. Now they account for 13% of assets and an impressive 1/3 share of global profits. That's a remarkable performance from Chinese banks. You can see that US profits are down only a moderate amount over the same 5-year period, from about 23% of the total to 18% of the total, with America's percentage of world assets staying roughly the same at 12 to 13%. The situation for UK banks, however, is much more troubling. While 5 years ago the British banking sector made 10% of world profits on about the same portion of assets, these days the assets are roughly the same size, but profits have halved. But UK banking is in some ways a game of two halves. A ranking of the top 25 banks by profits includes two UK banks, HSBC and Barclays, alongside leading banks which are mostly from the BRIC countries, Japan and the US. France's BNP Paribas is the only Eurozone bank in the top 25 profits ranking. By contrast, a ranking of the banks with the 25 large losses consists almost entirely of European banks, including Lloyds and Royal Bank of Scotland from the UK. As you might expect, banks from Greece, Cyprus, Italy and Spain are prominent in this ranking. For the top 1,000 as a whole, profits fell in 2012 to $702 billion and are 10% below their peak of $786 billion in 2007. Assets are up 44% over the same period, but return on assets and return on capital are about half what they were 5 years ago. Banking is an unequal business, and the top 25 banks make up around 40% of both total assets and total profits. No wonder regulators are worried about banks that are too big to fail. The Banker's Top 1000 World Banks contains a wealth of information with breakdowns by country and by region, by return on capital, by loan to deposit, by non-performing loans, cost to income ratios, among many other measures. The rankings will appear in the July issue of The Banker, along with commentary from The Banker's team of editors on what the rankings mean in terms of banking trends. You can be sure that bankers from around the globe will be studying their form in The Banker's Top 1000 ranking. Anyone wishing to order a copy of the July issue can do so at www.top1000worldbanks.com. The Top 1000 ranking is taken from the Banker database, which contains a wider range of data on many more banks than appear in the published ranking. Anyone wishing to subscribe to the full database can do so at www.thebankerdatabase.com. For those who would like to see what the database can provide, we're offering a free 14-day trial using the access code that appears at the end of this video. And for the first time ever, we're offering the free trial by way of a downloadable web app. To enjoy this on your tablet or smartphone, visit app.thebankertopbanks.com. We hope you enjoy perusing the Banker's Top 1000 World Banks. Whichever way you access it, it remains one of the world's leading sources of banking information and is used by banks around the world for picking counterparties and correspondence. In these turbulent times, can you really afford to be without it?